I think I'm going to be the, I can't say odd because I see my fellow architect Oscar here, but I think very few from the other spectrum of, really like, engineers who make things happen. So I thought I should share my experiences with steel in this forum, and also try and explore what the way forward could be, because some of it has been very satisfying, while many of it has been very frustrating. So let me just give you a background about how designers and architects approach design. So design is something which is intuitive, which is immediate. When we see a site, and when we see the context, we envisage the macro space that is available to us to carve out the micro spaces of the built environment that is required for a particular use. I often find that the best design solution is what comes up initially to us. So it is intuitive, it is immediate. But having said that, architects today are no artists. So we can't do whatever we want and get away with it. Like, like an artist has this liberty of doing his painting and hanging it on the wall, and it is up to you. You could either stay and see it, or you could walk away. But here, we are building ambiances, and we are building it for people. And when we say it is for people to function. So it has to be a success. And the success is so important. Otherwise, it's futile creating an environment. And today, I find, as they introduced, I started practice in '79. And practice was very different. The scales are very different. Today we are talking about acres of land. We are talking about creating communities. We are talking about creating campuses. Earlier it was one-off buildings. But what I find in India is that the scale of sites are very tiny. You still have properties abutting each other. You still have properties which have to respond to each other, whether you like it or not. You can't be totally creative and in the midst of triplicane street houses put up a structure which just stands out. It can be done. But is that what you want to do, is the question. Whereas, if you have, say, a township that you're creating the entire ambience. You're creating the environment for the community. So that gives you a lot of leeway and a lot of space to really make your design stand out. So this is the dichotomy that we face as professionals, because you have to design to that small, intimate scale, while you can also design for places which give you the scope, the ambience, the flora around, or the scene, and the landscaping that you could design totally. So I have come up with a philosophy of design which I call reciprocity. And what I mean by reciprocity is how the designer marries or balances the tangibles and the intangibles. On one hand, the exteriors and the interiors on the other hand, and technology that is available, materials that are available, and the skill sets that are available. So this is an inherent part of our design. And if we are not in a position to turn a blind eye to this. Personally, as a material, I have been very fascinated by steel. And I just share a joke with you. I don't know if that structural engineer is here in that crowd. But he said, Ma, I think you have some connection with Sani Bhagavan and steel. And that's why you always ask me to do complex steel design. But having said that, I have been able to do micro-level steel projects. Like, for example, we did a building for a corporate setting, which is in an SEZ, which my dream was like a bird perched, flapping its wings, ready to take off, which what the SEZ represented at that time. So, we did the bird, we did a perched bird. It was the form was inspired by it. I was fortunate. I had to fight a lot. I used calzip as a material because the upward seam would ensure that there were no water leaks, as my previous speaker said. So there was so much of convincing to do, right from the client to the project team to the contractors. You have to select different kind of people. And it is always easy to have one contractor responsible to do the entire job. So when you have multiple agencies, you have multiple problems. So this is something that we face as a challenge every day. And today, there is no structural engineer who does RCC design who's willing to do steel design as well. They either do steel or they do concrete. So they say, we will stop with the foundation, the steel design you take up with somebody else. This can be done, but there are more stakeholders, and more stakeholders means more problems. So let me talk to you about the materiality of steel that I like. I don't see steel as an industrial structure. I don't see steel as being used as just a structure to span and give a roof over your head. I think it is the dynamism of steel. It is the movement that it can create, the sleekness of design. As far as I am concerned, I think those are the most important factors. So, there was another instance where we created a clubhouse, which was based on the playfulness of Lord Krishna, like the swirling of garba skirts. So I wanted the roofs to go in, go out, go in, go out, and create that colorful Indian festive theme. But I had to give it up. Finally, we went for an Rcc roof. I had to make a lot of compromises. I still feel very bad about it. And I'm still convinced that if the design had been done in steel, and if I had had the fabricators to execute the job, it would be wonderful. It would be a wonderful ambience that we created. Why? Even a simple, when we moved into our new office 3 years ago, it is a platinum rated office, so we don't use lights during the day at all in the office. So I wanted these moving screens, which move with the trajectory of the sun. So as the sun goes up, you have these, it seems very simple. It is, after all, just a trellis. And steel, you can cut any designs that you want with all the laser and the computer coordinated cutting facilities that are available. But what was the challenge? The movement. So how do you mechanize this? So what are the moving parts that come? We do not have anything to support all that. So we are constrained. I think many of you would have seen, when you think of steel, you think of structures like what Calatrava does. Calatrava's museum in Milwaukee is something which moves. It's a huge, big structure. And with time, the entire roof closes and opens. It is a ceremony around it. That is what steel should be used for. Not spanning large spans. It's only a tip of the iceberg. So today we talk about, well, we have come a long way, we have many systems in place, but still, we haven't come to the point where we are able to engineer the material, use it for its best use, and see how we can integrate these systems to create magic. So this is what I wanted to share with you today as a lacuna in our thinking. We are very, very easily satisfied with what we do. Well, today we are able to do large spans. We are able to do a butterfly form. When he was showing the pinnacle, I was just thinking, if that pinnacle worked like a wind chime, because you were talking about wind loads, what magic would it have created? So pushing the envelope and pushing ourselves is what steel has been made and discovered for. I don't want to sound like a proponent of steel. I have no kind of interest in steel as a material. But I think steel as a material has great potential. And I don't think we should even think of combining steel and concrete. Why would you need to do that? If there are constraints in combining steel and concrete, do away with it completely. Work on things that steel can really be used for. So work on the sculptural quality that steel can give us. Today we have lost a great architect in Zaha Hadid. And I think her imagination utilized materiality to its fullest. I'm not talking about architecture, but I think the way Franco Gehry approaches his designs, the way Rem Koolhaas has done, the train station. So we have it in us to create all this in India, but we are very conservative. And we do not want to push the envelope. And very often I hear, well, it can be done, but, there are so many ifs and buts. We prefer mediocrity. As a community, as a country, we believe that being safe is required. But we are not safe. Otherwise, Calcutta wouldn't have happened. We think we are safe. We have to be safe. I'm not saying that you can, be brush about the whole thing. But steel is a material which you can push. And let us push the envelope and try and create structures that really enhance and give the material the right place in the construction industry. Let us not restrict it to industrial architecture. And let us not, restrict it to, just large span structures. So having said that, what in this forum do you think is the way forward? How do we make this happen? I want it to happen. I have explored in many occasions whether steel can be used, and in many occasions we have said no, well, it is more expensive, blah, 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 so we will go back to, what we know best. So, am I right in opening it to the forum and asking how the way forward should be? Because when we talk to vendors, when we talk to fabricators, there is a certain mindset. What has been done can be done easily. What has not been done, the unknown, is going to be expensive. That's the mindset, even without exploration. The immediate reaction is, well, that has not been done, and that is going to be expensive, even before it is tried. So this is my personal experience with steel. Wherever I have done them, wherever I've used it for expansive cantilevers, wherever I have used it for dynamism, it's come out superbly well. It is just that we are not in a position to adapt it to every design that we have done, which would be good, because it's a recycled material. It's green. The time taken is considerably short, but it requires exquisite planning. It requires meticulous detailing. And it requires a lot of work, obviously. Anything that is special does not come easy. So is there any way, any forum that we can try and explore how architectural dreams can materialize? And see whether we can also create structures and bridges. Bridge architecture is something that is phenomenal, where the twisting aspects of steel can be used. So I think I would love to work with anybody here who is willing to share their time to see how they can make this happen. Thank you.